right, we are live. All right, can everyone hear us okay? Welcome back, everyone. For those of you returning, and if we have any new guests, welcome. All right, and I'll wait to see if we can have one of our guests let us know that our sound is okay, and then we can likely kick things off. And maybe give it another few seconds and let people kind of enter the room. But this week I am joined with Annette, and Annette is a project manager at PCL, and she's been actually with PCL for 17 years now, and a project manager for 8 years, so she is your go-to gal for all things project management and really in the construction industry. So I'm excited for today's session, and as always, we will record the session and we'll share that on the YouTube channel, and if you have any questions throughout the sessions, feel free to leave that in the chat and we'll get to them as soon as we can. So without further ado, we'll just dive in. And Annette, thanks again for joining me. I'm excited to kind of kick things off and share your journey with the girls today.
Thank you for having me, Olivia.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Well, as you know, the girls that are joining with us today are young high school girls, kind of, forging their way into their futures and trying to figure out, what is the best path for them. So I'm excited to share your journey and how you got to PCL and as a project manager. So maybe we can kind of take it back to high school and what high school was like for you. Did you know what you wanted to do?
I would say probably from grade 10 onward, I knew what I wanted to do. I originally wanted to be an architect. I loved tech classes in high school. I was one of those people that always was building Lego houses, and it would be on display for like a week, and the next week I would change it up. And, I was creating my profile for architectural school. And, high school, there was the tech classes, the AutoCAD. I'll admit I was probably one of the few females in my classes. But I don't know, there's just something about designing buildings that I just really, really enjoyed.
Yeah. And you mentioned the classes that you were taking. I know you mentioned AutoCAD. What kind of electives did you take in high school that might have helped or deterred you from kind of the path that you pursued?
I would say probably the tech classes. So anything where it was like a drawing class, not an art, but anything more of like a building, like finite type class. Math class was more like the finite math or the algebra as opposed to, the theoretical math. I took French all the way through high school and thinking that I was going to become bilingual. It ended up, I stopped after high school, but it was basically just, I wasn't a big, sporty person. I wasn't a big sciencey person. It was just always just the tech, that there was something there that I enjoyed.
Yeah. So I guess from those classes, you knew you liked tech and technology. And from there, what was your journey then to kind of deciding on what to pursue in post-secondary? Did you kind of apply to a bunch of different programs and decide from there? Or what kind of led you away from architecture and ultimately into the field you're in right now?
So my original plan was to go to college first and get the practical side of everything. So I could say that I actually knew how to build the buildings, not just design them. So that was my plan. So I applied to a bunch of colleges like Fanshawe, Sheridan, Conestoga for their architectural technology program, which gave me a design side as well as a practical side. So it was a 4-year program that I did, 3 years, 4 years with a co-op in it. And, I got to college and started the co-op program, and I did 3 of my 4 work terms with PCL. My 4th work term was with a subcontractor at the airport when we were building the new terminal. And from there, all of my work terms, I realized, you know what, I don't want to be an architect. I don't want to go to school for another 4 years and just be sitting doing drawings on computer. College gave me that practical side, and the co-op program just gave me the exposure to the building aspect of it. And I'm still exposed to architects and everything. And, projects you work on, if you start at the design side of it, you're involved in that kind of aspect of it. But it was just the actual building of it, and, being able to look back at it and say, you know what, I worked on that project. I was part of being the building team that did that job. And it just, I highly recommend the co-op program if you're hesitant in, what you want to do. It really gives you the hands-on experience. And it helped me decide that, I didn't want to be an architect, that construction was what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. And I think we've had a lot of other guests that have had experience with co-op, and myself included. And it's just such a great way to figure out what you want to do, and at the very least what you don't want to do, right? So
exactly, yeah.
you can never lose from getting that kind of experience. At the very least, you're spending a few months kind of meeting some new people and discovering maybe a path that you don't want to pursue. But I'm glad that kind of worked out for you. And for the co-op program, was that something that your school ultimately helped you, with job placement, or was that effort kind of more on your part?
I'd say it was a bit of both. So the co-op program, I went to Fanshawe College in London, and the co-op program would have a bunch of job postings, and it was up to you to review them to decide where you wanted to go. And I was the only one from my program that decided that they wanted to go to PCL, for my co-op. I lived on the east side of Toronto, so for me, moving from London back to the east side wasn't a big deal. They were very good. They helped with the placement. They helped you with your interview prep and everything like that. But it's definitely on you as well. I was the first architectural technology co-op student at PCL, and now they come in all the time.
Yeah, it sounds like such an interesting program, and it's great that your school helped you. I think that's I asked that question because I know it varies based on the school, so it's just something that I want to try to highlight as well. That's something you can kind of explore when you're looking at university or college options, what the co-op program is like and what kind of career paths that can lead to, and what kind of programming they have to help you apply and interview. So that sounds like it was a great opportunity, and it ultimately led to your career. So hey,
exactly.
it all worked out. So that's really awesome. And the co-op, I know you did 3 out of 4 terms total with PCL. And I'm curious, what was if you could highlight one memory or one kind of learning, or maybe it was a moment within that co-op experience, what could you share?
I guess the biggest thing that I learned from it is no part of a job is too small. You may think that the littlest thing doesn't mean anything, but that little thing that you're working on could mean something really big to the rest of the project. So I guess just making sure that that you're stamping drawings, but those drawings then go to get fabricated, and that gets fabricated, and then that gets built on site, and then that becomes part of the building. So you may think it's a small, minute thing that you're working on, but in the grand scheme of things, it all comes together for one final product, and you should just be proud of, being a part of that.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely something that I've noticed as well through some of my experiences, and kind of within a company too. You kind of have to start somewhere, and often when you're starting off, you have roles where some of the tasks or the responsibilities might feel small, but ultimately those are the experiences you need to then grow and move on to other positions where you've experienced
Exactly.
and seen it all the way through. So yeah, that's a great point. And so you loved the program, which ultimately led you graduated after your 4-year program and joined PCL full time. So what was that experience like coming out of school, and kind of what position did you take on early on in your career?
It was great knowing. So I said I did the 3 work terms with PCL before I graduated. My last work term was an 8-month work term. So I pretty much worked a whole year with them. And I knew before I went back for my final semester of school that I already had a job full time.
Yeah.
So going back to my final semester, knowing that I had a full-time job was obviously a great experience. You come out of school, and I started full-time. I worked on a data center in Barrie. And it was, first time living by myself. I started this new job. I started as what they had called me as a change coordinator. So the architect issues changes on the project. So I review it. You send it out to trades for pricing. It comes back. You submit it for approvals. That was what I was in charge of. And it was good in the aspect of it gave me a lot of exposure to the drawings and, going out on site and figuring out how the pricing is, a lot of interaction with trades on site and architects and consultants. It was a really, really good experience. And then from there, I just started to move from coordinator. Coordinators do a lot of coordinating. You're really responsible for getting the drawings together, helping the project managers actually manage the job. And it's a good learning curve, and it's a good experience to then become a full scale project manager. You get, I found that in the different areas, like you can be on a project and you can just be the coordinator on say doors and hardware, or a project coordinator for just metals. But the experience that I had was a full circle coordinator. So I found that helped me, become the project manager that I am today, having seen stuff from the very, very beginning of design all the way through to the end where you turn the building over to the owner.
That's cool. It sounds like you had so much exposure, which you may not have otherwise had in another role, to kind of have that outlook now in your project management position. So that's really cool.
The one good thing I find too in construction is it's fast. So you could be on a project for, there's projects that we do that are 8 months long, but there's projects that we do that are 3 years long, but you always know that there's something new after. And I like that as well. Yeah. If a project isn't going the greatest, that you only have, another year of it. Or it's oh, wow, this project went so well. The team was great and everything. And now I have to move on. But just the change, I think that keeps me interested. Yeah. That it's not mundane every day. Something different.
And so I imagine you would work with the same team then when you kind of switch from project to project, but you're the client or who you're serving would be different. Is that correct? Or does the team
not necessarily true. Sometimes I've done projects where I've moved project to project with maybe the same project manager or the same superintendent, but then I've been on projects where it's a completely new team that I'm working with, which is great as well, because you get to know more people in the company. You see how other people run projects. You learn to decide how you want to lead by your experience. You learn what you don't like, you learn what you like, and then you can learn to craft yourself as to how you want to be as a leader.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it's almost like consulting, really. A lot of the times in any kind of consulting position, the team is changing and the project is changing, which is cool because it doesn't feel so stagnant. Things change, you're learning new skills, you're meeting new people.
Exactly.
Staying in a position for a long time is fun because you're constantly being challenged. And I'm curious, so the projects that you work on, what kind of projects are they? Are they commercial projects, and what kind of I don't know if you can talk about clients, or maybe share a story about a cool project that you worked on. I'd love to kind of hear more about that.
So like I mentioned first, I started on a data center, which was for a bank. My next project I worked on is that nice big condo building beside the Scotiabank Arena, Maple Leaf Square. That's multi-use. So there's residential towers on top, but it's commercial on the bottom. I worked on the renovations at Sherway Gardens.
Cool.
And then now I'm downtown working on the reclad of an office tower. So essentially taking the skin off the entire building and rebuilding it out.
Very cool. So really, like, there's not a lot of limitations as to, I guess, who you guys can work with. They're large scale projects, that's for sure.
Yeah, we do special projects, which is smaller stuff, but we do like large scale. We do hospitals. We have various departments in the company. You could work in our pursuit department, which is where you do all the estimating and everything for the projects that we're pursuing. You can work in estimating. You can work in accounting. You can work in project management. So there's a wide range of places that you can work at within PCL. They do want you to get a wide range of experience of projects that you worked on, which is a great idea because then you become more well-rounded. And at any point, you could go work on a residential tower, or you could go work for a hospital. Like they very much promote you in doing that. And I mean, it's great because you learn a lot more because every project's different and every type of contract that you do is different.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I mean, I don't know if if PCL would have this, but I know a lot of larger companies do like rotational programs out of post-secondary so that students can kind of come in and then for, a year to 2 years, they can try 4 different departments or 4 different roles within a company to then kind of figure out that vertical that they liked the most and then pursue that. So I don't know if PCL would have something like that, but that could almost, and I mean, you could almost do that, on your own. You start in a position and then, switch to another department and apply internally. So I'm sure that option is still there, but I imagine that PCL would have something like that.
I know for me, when I graduated, the question was, did I want to be in the field or did I want to be in the office?
Okay.
Or did I want to be on the operations project management side or did I want to be on the superintendent side?
Yeah.
But I do know more recently, they do try to move you around into pursuit. So then you've had a chance to work in estimating before you go to your next project.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. And it just saves so much turnover and people can really figure out what works for them and what works for the company as well. So it's kind of a win-win. So in your maybe current position or your experience with PCL, kind of being in the industry or in your position, what has been kind of the biggest challenge for you over the years?
I think the biggest challenge, I would say, is obviously, they say construction is a male-dominated workforce. So I think that has been something that I've had to work against. And I'm not I wouldn't deter anybody from it. I just, you have to carry yourself in a way, you have to get that advocate for you. You need that sponsor, you need that mentor. And I think, since I started at PCL, there's a lot more females in construction than there was before, which is great. But definitely you need the mentor, you need and I'm not saying, it has to be a female mentor. It's great to have male mentors or sponsors as well. I would almost recommend that you have one of both because you see it from both sides and they have different perspectives and, then you can tailor the way that you want to based on what you're hearing, they're guiding you to do.
Yeah. No, I can definitely agree with that. And I imagine PCL probably has, clubs or inclusion and diversity programming internally that also helps with that. But you're absolutely right. I think it's a huge factor in finding kind of the right people in mentorship. whether it's within the company or outside of the company, to kind of help navigate that as well. So that's
Exactly. Yeah. At PCL, we do have a diversity and inclusion group, but we also are big into mentoring. Mm-hmm. So there is a mentoring program where, you can sign up to be a mentor, you can sign up to be a protege, mm-hmm. and, they do assign you a mentor, but they also encourage the organic, nature of mentorship as well. Some people find it easier if they make that mentorship partnership themselves than if it's assigned to them. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's definitely a big thing at PCL is mentoring.
Yeah, it just helps you accelerate your career and kind of also meet people internally and externally, which is always great, and in different departments, or finding mentors who are in positions that you hope to eventually
exactly
obtain. So that's always cool, because you're learning from the people that you essentially want to be. So that's really cool. And before I continue, I'll just jump quickly. We had a question. Can you share a little bit about the value of being on site in construction?
I personally prefer to be on site, mm-hmm. doing construction. There's just something to be said about, you get a set of drawings from a trade, mm-hmm. and you actually can go out on site and see where, let's say it's a stair. You go out, you look at the spot where it's going to be built. It's so much easier to picture it when you're actually looking at the place it's going to be built, mm-hmm. than, sitting in an office an hour away from where it is. And, I think it also helps you when you're a coordinator. It also helps you to understand the scheduling of things. You can see where they are, mm-hmm. at any certain point in time, and realize like, oh, they're going to pour that next week. And if I don't have this on site, then, we're going to be behind schedule. So, and just actually even to get the experience of walking the site with the field staff, mm-hmm. and just seeing things from their perspective. I find that helps me, is having that relationship now as a project manager, having that relationship with the superintendent, where you can just walk around site and you can talk about things and see if there's anything that, is worrying them that I need to do, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. Just the site experience, I would encourage people to try it. I mean, site's not for everybody. Mm-hmm. But I think I definitely learn more being a project manager that's actually at a job site than a project manager at an office, like our head office.
Yeah. And you touched on a good point. Like, I think different people learn in different ways as well. So sometimes that on-site experience, it feels more like tangible.
Yeah.
So it's a cool experience. And I know we had a conversation previously about this as well. And it's cool because you can directly see the work that you're
exactly
in. There's the output. It's in front of your eyes. You can touch it. You can see it. So that's kind of a cool way to look at it as well. And we got another question. If you could tell high school students the most important soft skills to start working on, what would you suggest?
Soft skills. I would say just the ability to interact with people, have the conversation. I know when I started, I was a pretty shy person, and I find that being shy and scared to ask questions and stuff, you won't get very far. So just make sure that you have the ability to talk to people, and it's not just the people that you work with. You have to be able to talk to the trades. You have to be able to talk to the consultants, and just.
I can definitely agree with that.
I think it's just working on those people skills. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, which often comes with time and exposure, I think.
Exactly, yes.
Which I would probably imagine your co-op experience would have also given you a lot of that,
It definitely helped.
You get put in new situations that challenges you to think in new ways and present ideas differently, and you're working with new people every term, and probably you're still learning to this day how to continuously work with people on new projects, right? So it's a skill that's probably
yes,
always evolving, but and that's a skill that's pretty well in every industry, in every job, that people are forever learning. So definitely a good one to touch on. So, and I'll just check to see if we have any other questions. I think we're all good for questions. So just jumping back to the conversation that we were having before, it got me thinking about mentorship, and if there was anyone throughout your journey, whether it was, early on in high school or throughout post-secondary or even now, that kind of helped you carve that path, or help you pick the career that you ultimately decided to get into.
I'd say there's probably two people that I think of when you ask me that question. Mm-hmm. The first one would be my technology teacher in high school. Mm-hmm. He very much helped prepare me for school, and he always pushed me to do what I wanted to do, regardless of if I was the only female in the class. Mm-hmm. Like, he always encouraged me to follow my dreams, and you can do whatever you want to do if you put your mind to it. And then I would say, once I started working, I would say a superintendent that I've gotten very close to. I think he's very much, well, he's one of my mentors, but he's very much like a motivational speaker. Like, he can easily, motivate you and, inspire you to do better. Mm-hmm. And he pushes me to push myself, if I'm hesitant to do something, he gives you that pep talk that, just puts you over the edge and gives you the strength to do it. And I think I would definitely say he's one of my biggest cheerleaders. And without him, I probably, may not be where I am today if I didn't have that push from him.
Yeah. And I think the beautiful thing about people like that is they often kind of shed a lot of that motivation onto you, and you continue to, spread that motivation onto others. So it's almost like this pay it forward attitude, which I love to see, and it's beautiful. And I guess, that is what you're doing today. You're here and inspiring young girls and helping them find a path. So that's really awesome. And has COVID affected your job? We got one more question coming in.
Has COVID affected my job? Yes. I've been working from home. Mm-hmm. Some projects have shut down, some have still been going. So it's just a matter of, testing the waters as to how much work you can do, how much work you can't do. Mm-hmm. It causes a lot of extra work, I guess. Claims, and now you're behind schedule. You have to make up schedule. Mm-hmm. But I'd say the best thing out of it is it has given me a chance to work from home and, spend some more time with my family than what I would have if I was still working, downtown every day, commuting every day. So it's had good and bad effects on my job.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of us can probably agree with that in whatever, work we're doing. So that's probably true for many of us. I know it's true for me. And we just have a minute left, so I wanted to finish off with my favorite question to ask. If you could, give young high school version of you one bit of advice, what would it be?
I would probably go back and tell myself, don't be scared. Mm-hmm. You can do it. That little voice in the back of your head that's saying, is this really what I want to do? Is this right? Can I do it? Just ignore that. Just do it.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's so hard to fight back from, the little voice in your head or your conscience. But, it's so powerful when you try new things that feels like it's going against what your intuition sometimes.
And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah. And I think that one is, it's a common one we get on the live series. So there's a theme, friends. There's a theme. All right. Well, I think we can wrap things up then if there aren't any more questions. But Oh, what another good session. So thanks so much, Annette, for joining all of us today. And feel free to reach out to Annette on LinkedIn if you have any questions or want to learn more from her. I'm sure she'd be happy to help answer those questions. And otherwise, we will see you on our next session. But thanks so much,
Thank
everyone.
you very much.
Have a great
Have a good night.